Good afternoon, Tom. Thank you for being here to answer questions. Our first question comes from a Patreon subscriber, and that is Yanis from Latvia. I'm one of those people who's been practicing paranormal stuff for quite a while, but I'm not getting visuals at all. Some time ago, I realized that in remote viewing, I was hanging on to a belief about how the image should appear. And that's probably what was blocking me from actually getting anything. Now I've started to pick up on things more in a feeling space. It's not super clear, but it feels nice. At least for now, this seems to work for remote viewing, but not so much for diagnosing health or healing. Do you have any suggestions or tools or approaches for diagnosing and healing without visualizing the gingerbread cookie?
Sure. The feeling space can be almost as detailed as the visual space. I often will get people in a class that say, I don't see pictures, I'm not visual, I can't see anything, but in that remote viewing, I saw a red fire engine parked out inside of such and such a place, the green grass, a dog running in the yard. And it's like, well, how did you feel all that if you didn't see it? And they don't know. They say, I don't know, but I just felt that that's the way it was. Well, you see, you're getting the data, and you can express that data any way you wish. In other words, that's up to the individual to how to express that data. You can express it in terms of feelings. You can express it in terms of pictures. But let's say you're a person that doesn't do pictures very well. Visual isn't your thing. You're an auditory person. Well, you may get it in terms of sound. Or a feeling person. You may get it in terms of feelings. So what you need to do there to help gain more specificity is to give the larger conscious system kind of a code on what things mean. So if you were visually looking for black spots, well, then you want a feeling of, oh no, that's not good. That would be a black spot. If you then were turning it into a white spot, you would look for a feeling that says, that's much better. Yes, all the disease is gone now. So you wouldn't see the picture, but you'd get the same information. You just interpret it in a feeling space rather than in a visual space. So that's how you do it. But you have to give the system kind of what you want your output format to be, and give it feelings. All right, there's this kind of feeling and that kind of feeling and another kind of feeling. And the first one will mean this, the second one will mean that, and the third one will mean something else. And then once you give the system a kind of a code of what the various feelings mean, then it will use that code to communicate with you. You kind of set that up. And you do it, most people just do it by trial and error. They heal, and they get this feeling that there's something wrong. And then they get a feeling that it's in around the heart. And then they get a feeling of how serious it is. And all of these are feelings rather than visuals. So a feeling can be almost as explicit as a visual. You just have to give the system enough variations in your feeling so that it can give you the data in the form that you want to express it.
When you say variations in your feeling, what do you mean?
Well, you feel different ways, different situations. And somebody's nice to you, you feel some way. Somebody just insults you, you feel a different way. When somebody tells you that they just found out they had cancer, you feel in a different way than if they said something really happy happened to them. So you have all sorts of feelings. Now, a lot of people who are not very good in a feeling space kind of mush those all together. And those different feelings aren't very distinct. They're just all kind of a feeling of better and a feeling of worse, but they're all kind of mushed all at once. But a person who works in a feeling space can come to define and differentiate a lot of different kinds of feelings. And then it's just a matter of associating a certain feeling with a certain attribute or a certain thing. It's just like the people who do visuals, let's say seeing an aura. Now, if you've read the book by C.W. Ledbetter, and he has pictures of auras, and you will see that a very bright mind has a yellow thing around the head. All right, now you can use that, but if you want to change it, you can. You can say, system, I want brightness to be bright blue. If a person's real bright, I want to see that in blue around the head. And if a person's very spiritual, I want to see that in red rather than purple. So if you lay out what you want the output format to be, the system's outputting information to you, and you're getting it. So you'd like to know what your input is and what their output is. If you tell the system, they'll do that. They will, you can just tell them, here's what my feelings mean, and they will then give you information according to the feeling. But if you live in a feeling space, then you probably can differentiate a lot of different feelings, one from the other. What's it feel like when you find something that is, say, sort of bad, but not real bad when you're healing? And then what do you feel like when you find something that's pretty bad, but not fatal? And what do you feel like when somebody has something that's going to kill them? Those are all different feelings. Well, those are the kind of feelings that you'll get instead of pictures. So you have to differentiate your feelings. But a lot of people will take the data and explain it in terms of feelings, because in their mind, they don't do pictures. Now, they really do pictures, but they don't believe that they do pictures. So they can feel the red fire engine and the dog running in the green grass, and they feel all that. And they say, well, I just got this feeling that there's a red fire engine there, and it's parked by the side, and there's a dog in the grass, and da-da-da. So they go on and describe the scene, but they will swear that they never actually saw a picture. They just got it without seeing. Well, that's the way it works anyway. You don't actually see things. You don't have eyes. You're just getting information, and you're interpreting that information as visual. If you're a visual person, that's easy. Or if you're not a visual person, you may want to interpret it as feeling. So that's how you feel a red fire engine. I puzzled over that for a long time, because I have any number of feeling people that would say that very distinct things that they got. And I couldn't imagine how you could get that a fire engine is red by feeling. That's something you'd have to see. But no, they're getting that information of the red fire engine, and they're just interpreting it as they felt that. They just felt that a red fire engine was parked on the curb and there's a little brown dog running
It's
in the
almost more
yard.
powerful. Do you think it's almost more powerful because
Well,
you've got some more nuances to work with rather than seeing a red fire engine? That's something direct and simple, but getting that feeling is really a lot more to play with.
well, the feeling probably has more nuance, and the visual probably has more detail. If there was a red fire engine, but it had a piece of its paint chipped that was actually white, that was the undercoat, then you might see that scene, but that would be hard to differentiate in a feeling. So the scene is going to get a lot more minute detail. But yes, the feeling probably is more something that picks up ambience and other subtleties that are really hard to express visually. So yes, they both have their advantages, and you can do both. So a lot of the time, it's just a belief we have that we don't see things. And then we translate it into a feeling space, even though I don't know what the feeling of a red fire engine is, or a green fire engine for that matter, and how do they feel different? I have no idea. But I know that people who work with feelings can differentiate things like color without any problem. They just feel that that's the way it is. So they're getting the data. The data comes to them intuitively. They tell you what the answer was, and they will tell you also that they didn't see anything. That's just, they're not translating the data into visuals. They're taking the data and translating into feelings. Or they're getting the visuals without actually feeling like they're seeing anything, because you don't have eyes. You're not seeing with your eyes. You're just getting the information. Then you get to you get to output it, you get to process it in the way that feels most natural to you. And if for some reason visuals don't seem natural to you because you're convinced that you can't see them, or because of some other thing, maybe you're one of those people that just doesn't, can't see visuals. That part of your mind doesn't work that way. Well, in that case, then you find other ways to see things without actually doing it visually. So I
You're
hope that
very,
helps, Jonas.
yeah, I'm sure it will. You're very visual. I know you're very detailed. You will see things precisely as you did with those computer cards that told you there were errors.
Yeah.
So that's your talent, your particular way, and everyone needs to find their own, but further develop it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for answering that. Would you like to see a better world? Get a better perspective. Balance your intellect with intuition and explore your true nature with the Exploring Consciousness and Everything Paranormal program with Thomas Campbell. In this program, you will have the benefit of Tom's vast experience and learn to access point consciousness, communicate with the larger consciousness system, remote view, use your natural ability to heal with intent, and explore reality in the out-of-body state. His famous binaural beats are included. Details are in the description below. Thank you.
I and MBT Events hope you like this video. If you do, then you should consider being a Patreon member, because Patreon members get early access to our special content. You will also be able to get your questions answered by me in special Q&A sessions, and most importantly, your contribution as a patron member will enable us to produce the content that you're looking for. So thank you.